In today's video, I am going to cover some misconceptions regarding hemophilia. I noticed that there is a lot of myths surrounding hemophilia, especially since I've started posting about it and sharing about my son's hemophilia. So today I have 10 common myths that I have seen that you also get to be a part of. So in today's video, I'm going to make it a little bit more interactive and fun. I'm going to give you a myth and you get to guess if that myth is true or false. And then I will discuss it a little bit further. So let me know in the comments once the video is done, out of 10, how many did you get correct? And as always, you shouldn't just believe everything you hear on the internet. So I will have the resources down below. You are more than welcome to check them out. Let's get started with number 1. Hemophilia B is a rare blood disorder. Is this true or false? So hopefully you answered true. I wanted to start us off with a very easy one. And so we know that 1 in 25,000 to 30,000 males are affected worldwide with hemophilia. According to the National Institute of Health, there are 7,000 rare disorders and many of these are genetic in nature. So we know that hemophilia B, or also known as Christmas disease, is classified as a rare genetic blood disorder that affects the blood's ability to clot properly. It is also classified as a disability. So it affects a small percentage of people in the United States. In order for something to be considered rare, it has to have 7,000 people or less. Hemophilia B has around, as of 2022, approximately 7,500 people who live with hemophilia in the United States. So it is a rare genetic blood disorder. Let's look at number 2. Hemophilia is only a genetic blood disorder. Is this true or false? This one is false. Hemophilia B is most commonly known as a genetic disorder, but we know that 1/3 of individuals who are diagnosed with hemophilia have no genetic history. So let's say that we have 3 people who have hemophilia. We know 1/3 of those individuals have no genetic history, and we know 2/3 of individuals who have hemophilia have the genetic history. So again, that 1/3 of individuals have no genetic history on them getting hemophilia. So like my son, we had no genetic history in either side of our family. So I do believe we caught it a little bit late. And with his bruising, we were not sure what it was because again, we did not know anybody in our family who had hemophilia. So we never had that genetic link. Then you may ask, well, how does this happen? Well, what happens is a mutation occurred. How does a mutation occur? A mutation is a change in the DNA sequence that makes up a gene. DNA is the genetic material that contains the instructions for the development and functioning of all living organisms. Mutations can occur spontaneously during DNA replication, or they can be caused by external factors such as radiation or chemicals. So are mutations a bad thing then? Mutations can be beneficial, harmful, or have no effect on an organism. In other cases, a mutation can cause a genetic disorder or increase the risk of developing a disease. So you can have a completely healthy pregnancy, you can avoid sushi and deli meat and do everything right, and you still may get a child who has hemophilia. Very uncommon, but like me, I had a very healthy pregnancy, I had a very healthy delivery, and so it was very unexpected that my son had hemophilia. When I was taking my bachelor's degree, I took a class in psychology, and I still remember to this day, we went over a study about how many hours of sleep a person needs a night. And on average, people need about 8 hours of sleep. Well, they found a group of people who needed less, around 6. And so they had concluded that there was some type of mutation that allowed them to have less sleep. So mutations are not always a bad thing or even a good thing. They're just mutations. Number 3, hemophilia can be caused by getting a vaccine. True or false? This one is false. So as we learned from the previous question, 2/3 of individuals who get hemophilia have it because of genetic history. So they did not get it because of a vaccination, but because of their genetic history. So what about the 1/3 of people who had hemophilia? Is it because of a vaccine? There is no evidence that supports that individuals who develop hemophilia had any correlation to getting a shot or a vaccine. So the most common question I am asked, did you get a vaccine? So when I was pregnant with my daughter, it was right during the pandemic. The vaccine came out. I was like 7 or 8 months pregnant, the COVID vaccine, and I had asked my doctor about it. He said there's really no research about it right now, so I chose not to get it at that moment in time just because I was also later in my pregnancy. And then I was nursing my daughter. So at that time I thought, well, I'll give it more time. When I'm done nursing, I got pregnant with my son. He was a surprise. She was 7 or 8 months old, my daughter. And so I chose again not to get the vaccine before or during my pregnancy with my son either. The last flu shot I got was about 5 years ago. And I got really sick after getting the flu shot. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get a flu shot again. And actually, I never got the flu after that. So that was pretty good. Now, I did get one shot in the hospital after delivering my daughter. And it's a really common shot to have. The nurse went over it with me. I'll put it here up on the screen. But other than that, I have not had any other vaccines. And even my friends who have had the vaccine and have baby boys, they don't have hemophilia. So if you do meet somebody and their child happens to have hemophilia without genetic history, just be aware right now there's no research to support that. We can only live in the here and the now, so I'm only going off the most relevant research. It may change, but no, I did not get the vaccine. So it was just a mutation, or I'm also getting genetic testing soon. So sometimes mutations happen and it's not always linked to a vaccine. Number 4, hemophilia can be developed through someone's life. True or false? So this is false. Hemophilia is typically diagnosed early on in a baby's life, usually after circumcision. My son experienced bruising before any vaccinations from us just holding him. So even before he had his baby vaccinations, he was bruising from us holding him. We were like, maybe he's just really sensitive. And again, baby, you're not going to get your baby's 4-month shot and all of a sudden they get hemophilia the next week. There's been no correlation of that happening. Number 5, hemophilia is commonly referred to as the royalty disease. True or false? And if you've watched any of my other videos, you probably already know this, but it is true. Historical records suggest that hemophilia was present in European royal families during the Middle Age and the Renaissance periods, leading to the condition being sometimes referred to as the royal disease. This is because hemophilia is an X-linked genetic disorder, and it was commonly for royalty to intermarry and pass the gene down through their bloodline. Today, hemophilia is recognized as a rare genetic disorder that affects people of all races and all ethnicities. This again shows it has nothing to do with vaccinations, and if you're that 2/3 of individuals who get it, it's because of genetic link. If you watch any of my other videos, you know I've covered this, but it is most commonly the mother will carry the X chromosome and she will carry that recessive gene and then she'll pass it on to her baby, but it's still not 100% chance the baby will have it even if the mother carries that recessive gene. Number 6, there is no difference in severity levels of hemophilia B. Is this true or false? So this is false. There are different severity levels of hemophilia B, so this will determine how often the individual will need treatment. My son has his hemophilia B factor 9 at 1%. So he is considered moderate. Individuals who have less than 1% are severe. Mild is 5 to 40%. And normal individuals have 50 to 150% of factor in their blood. Number 7, only males are affected by hemophilia. This is false. It is most commonly seen in males, but females can also be affected. Number 8, hemophilia is contagious. True or false? This is false. You cannot catch hemophilia from somebody who has it. It is genetic or they were born with it because of a mutation. Number 9, people with hemophilia cannot live normal lives. True or false? So this one is false. Individuals who receive treatment and are aware of their condition can live normal lives. They are more prone to joint bleeds and muscle bleeds, so they do have to be cautious when these situations happen, but they can live normal lives. So they do say not to have individuals with hemophilia play wrestling or do football because of the impact to the head. We do have to be careful. but my son can play other sports. He can go hiking and camping and go on vacation. So he can live a normal life as long as we're having his treatment always available to him. He falls or hurts himself, we give him an extra treatment and he can go on about his day. So how I always reply to people in my comments is he can live a very normal and happy life with modifications. Number 10. This one is a little tricky, so I want you to listen carefully. Individuals with hemophilia can bleed out quicker and their bleeding does not stop. Is this true or false? This one is false. Some individuals with hemophilia, like my son, never had any issues with bleeding. His only symptom was bruising. So usually we see bleeding problems more frequently in individuals who have hemophilia A. This can also be shown by getting bloody noses or mouth bleeds. My son had a finger cut around 4 months and we put pressure on it. He stopped bleeding and he healed. So not always are they going to have this extreme symptom of bleeding that doesn't stop. And then with the cut, we put pressure, right? And that will stop the bleeding. Even my son who, around his 4-month vaccinations, we didn't see any abnormal bleeding or anything like that. And another thing to keep in mind, if you choose to have your child vaccinated around 4 months or 6 months with their regular vaccinations, there is not a case that they suddenly are going to get hemophilia. So again, from research, there's nothing that shows that's going to happen. So don't make this ever scare you. There is right now, I can only live in the here and the now, but there is no science to back that. So that was our last myth. And I also want to keep in mind that depending on the type of blood disorder and the severity level, your treatment is going to be different. And also treatment's going to be different for individuals because they're different individuals. Hemophilia can also affect healing time. So when my son was bruising, it was taking weeks for him to heal. So that is another thing to keep in mind. Bruises can spread, which means tissue bleeds or muscle bleeds. So what does treatment look like? It is an infusion into the vein. So they put IV in and then they give him his factor treatment. Another thing to consider is getting a port where they put a port underneath the skin into the big vein. So that way we don't have to constantly poke my son's veins. And we also can give him treatment if something happens, like he hits his head or he falls. We can give him that extra treatment without rushing to the ER. Baby veins can be very hard to find. Even talking to phlebotomists who've been doing it for years, it can be hard to find baby veins, and we don't want to hold them down and try to find a vein every single week. So those are just options we have moving forward, and I'm so thankful that we have technology and we have treatment available to us. Let me know in the comments, out of these 10 myths, how many did you get correct? I also have a whole video that goes over what hemophilia is if you are interested and have more questions. Well, I hope you are taking care of your mental health. Thank you for joining me for our 10 myths video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.